Okay. Okay. Hopefully this is working now. That is so Okay, we back. Guys, can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Can someone comment and see if you're here? Because for some reason it's not telling me. I'm just gonna mess around with the filters as I... Oh, bubbles! They're adding some new ones. This one looks weird. See, the thing with filters is it just makes you look really different. So I feel like they're a bit problematic. Like, this just makes me look white. I'm not white. It's just a bit weird. Alright, anyways, let's just do normal. Hi guys, sorry about the confusion. That was all just a little bit mad. The orientation was just really going to annoy me. I couldn't have done it like that. Thank you for letting me know. How are you? I'm good. I'm excited for this live. So we're going to be talking about excessive eating and how to cut the habit. Ikra, you're tuned in. You're the one that suggested this one. So thank you so much for your lovely suggestion. It's a really, really good topic. It's something that I talk to with my clients all the time because everyone emotional eats. Sorry, my throat. So yeah, literally everyone on the face of this planet emotional eats. If you're feeling a little bit down, I mean, it depends on the person, because for me, when I'm feeling down, I don't really eat. So this might not be applicable to everyone, but when some people feeling down, they eat to like overcompensate certain things. But just kind of, as with everything, just take what resonates with you from this. And don't take it all like too seriously. There's no right or wrong, black or white. It's just whatever resonates with you, and just kind of understand it for what it is, which it's not that deep. So yeah, okay. Does anyone have any questions before we start, or should I just get straight into it? Maybe I'll just get straight into it. Let me try fixing the light. Okay, cool. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is something called, got my notepad as per usual, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is primary and secondary foods, and I'll go into more detail about what they are, because many of you have probably never heard of primary and secondary foods. The next thing we're going to talk about is portions. The third thing we're going to talk about is the pace at which we eat. And the final thing we're going to talk about is water. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to this live, and the first part is primary and secondary foods. So, off topic, I love your tea. Thank you. Ikra, what do you like about it, if you don't mind me asking? Because that's an interesting one. Okay, so the first topic that we're going to be talking about is primary and secondary food. So basically what that means is secondary foods is the actual food that we eat. So like when you're making food in the kitchen, like when you're making pasta or bread, or like literally whatever actual food that you're eating, that is your secondary food. And your primary food is like your non-food nourishment. So the things that you enjoy doing, the things that make you feel good, that is your primary food. And you lot are probably thinking, why is it, like before I learned about this, I thought that primary food would be the actual food that we eat, and secondary food would be the things that we enjoy doing. But a lot of studies have shown that the things that we actually enjoy doing are the things that actually affect our mood the most, and they're the things that have the ability to actually fill us up. So primary food, so the non-food nourishments in our lives, they could be like hobbies or just anything that makes you feel happy. They're split into 4 different categories, and those categories are career, relationships, and that just doesn't mean, you know, romantic relationships. It can mean platonic relationships, family relationships, physical activity, so how much exercise you do or don't do, and mental health. So those are kind of the 4 different categories. And basically what this theory kind of states is that when you're content, sorry, I keep going to burp, I just ate loads of snacks. I'm really addicted to these. I've shown you these before, like on Instagram and stuff, and a lot of you guys have said that you eat them as well, but I'm really addicted to those, and I just finished the whole packet and now I'm burping, so I'm sorry. Let's get back to it. So when you're content and you're balanced in those 4 areas, so your primary food is the career, your relationships, your physical activity, and your mental health. When you're feeling content and you're feeling happy and balanced in those 4 areas, then your primary food is in a good place, and that means that you're going to be filled up, and you're going to be living off high happy vibes kind of thing, like good emotions, and just you're just going to be feeling good. You're going to be living off love and loving life and enjoying yourself. So you're not going to want to necessarily fill any voids, because there's no voids to be filled. You're not going to want to fill any of your voids with food, which is what happens when you're unbalanced or something is not going so right in your life. It could be a problem at your job, it could be you've just had an argument with a friend or a loved one, and that kind of sets you off, so your mood kind of becomes a bit low, and that's when people start to emotional eat. So I'll give you an example of like how to kind of deal with these things. So say if, like, this is something that happened to me when I used to work in an office. I used to really dislike my office job. I used to put so much into it. Like, I used to literally give my everything to that office job, and I didn't feel like I was getting anything back. To be honest, looking back, I didn't get anything back except for like a whack pay slip every month, which was not worth it. It wasn't enough. So I gave my heart and everything into this job, and I didn't have any lunch breaks, and I didn't ever give myself time to myself. I would work really long hours, come home, sleep, wake up in the morning, go do it again, 5 days a week for years. And one thing that I just started to do, like just before I quit my job, was like I just set the boundary of being like, okay, do you know what? It wasn't like that's the reason that I kind of quit my job. There was many things, but the way that I kind of dealt with that was to just set a boundary and be like, do you know what? I'm going to just take a lunch break every single day. I'm going to set that boundary, and I'm going to have an hour to myself and just get away from the computer, from all electronics, not think about work halfway through the day, and then keep going. And it made such a big difference. And I've suggested that to so many other people, and you know, making these things better doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, like, say if you have an argument with a friend, it doesn't mean that you've got to cut that friend off for your primary food to be in a good place. It means that you just have to be honest with yourself and be honest with that person and communicate your feelings with that person, even if the only person involved in the situation is you, for example with your career or your physical activity. If you're not happy with the amount of times that you're going to the gym, you've got to sit down and be honest with yourself, and that can be so hard. Oh my god, I'm the worst person at this, trying to be honest with myself. I will lie and lie and lie to make myself feel better, but it's not going to get you to the place that you want to be, and your primary food is going to be completely out of balance, and you're going to end up developing really bad eating habits. So just, I think being honest with yourself with your primary foods is the most important thing. That is how you're going to get the most out of it. And what I usually suggest to my clients is basically just grabbing a piece of paper. So I'll just show you an example, and then just writing down like the 4 primary foods. So like your career, your your relationships, so career, relationships, your physical activity, and your mental health, and then just like writing down the good and bad of each of these things. So you've got that list, so you've got good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, and you just kind of assess it from there. It's just like a little self-assessment task, which really helps with trying to figure out what's going on and trying to basically figure out your triggers. Why is it that you're eating really badly? Why is it that you just want to eat chocolate all the time? Why is that making you feel good? What other things can you improve in your life so you don't feel like you have to fill a void or like a hole in your heart or just something that's not going good with comfort food? And I think it's really important to just take time out and do that. It's like maintenance for yourself, right? Like, it's so important to look after yourself. And I say this all the time, self-love isn't just all about baths, bubble baths and face masks and stuff. Sometimes it's just sitting down and be really honest with yourself, and in the moment it can make you feel horrible, but after, like, in the long term, it's the best way to deal with whatever issues you're going with. And especially if those issues are triggering bad eating habits, like in the long term, it's just gonna affect you in the worst way. So just taking time out, sit down, be honest with yourself. Like, those 4 categories are pretty brutal when it comes to life, right? Like, if you're trying to be successful in a career, we live in such a fast-paced life, and we're constantly trying to get to this end destination of, okay, when I get this promotion I'll be happy, when I get this much money I'll be happy. But then you get to that point and then you're constantly looking for the next thing to make you happy, instead of just enjoying the journey of doing whatever it is that you're doing. So it's about sitting down and really assessing, for example, your career or your relationships, the people that are around you, and just yeah, not letting them, just setting yourself really strict boundaries. I think that's the most important thing. Okay, I've spoken about that long enough. Does anyone have like any questions about those 4 things? And I can't see the comments. Why can I never see them? Okay, here they are. Ikra, I kind of sense that it's, I burped again because of the cookies, sorry. That is meaningful in some way. With the pistol under it, it probably means you're wore down and pick up your piece. That's interesting. That's an interesting analysis. Thank you for sharing that. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about the primary and secondary food stuff. That's like literally one of my favorite topics. Like, I have like so many different workshops and handouts for like clients and even group clients and stuff like that, and we all go through it, and the end of it is just, it's so good just to watch people really analyze themselves and get to the bottom of why they're feeling troubled and why they're feeling upset. Because once you know the trigger, how can it affect you? Like, once you know what's going on, what's making you feel bad, how can it affect you? Because now you have complete control over it. You have a choice and you can make it better. The next thing we're going to talk about, I think that's the thing that I'm going to talk about the most. So the next thing is portion sizes. So since like the 80s, even the 60s, to be honest with you, our portions have gone absolutely massive. Like, if you compare recipes from like the 60s to recipes now, like say if you were to make like a cake or like some brownies or something, and the recipes from the 60s, I guarantee you that if we use that same recipe now, it would probably feed like half the amount of people. So like a standard recipe for say brownies in the 60s probably would have fed around 32 people, say. But if you use that recipe now, it would probably feed about 15, 16, so like literally almost half of the amount of people. And that's purely because we just eat a lot more. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but it's just something to take notice of. Also, this allure of like better value when you buy like more things. So like, say if you're like in a fast food restaurant and you're gonna get chips, and they're like, oh, if you add like another 50p you can get it large. Like, I think 9 out of 10 people are gonna say yes, because it seems like you're getting more value for your money. Also, another thing, I always notice it at cinemas. Like, they just confuse me when I go to buy snacks. I haven't been to the cinema in years, but when I did, it just used to be like, can I get popcorn? They'd be like, if you add 150 you can get a drink and a chocolate and like all this mad stuff. And every time I'd be like, yeah, cool, if it's another 150 and I'm gonna get all of that stuff, it's basically free. So like, it just makes sense. And again, I'm gonna draw from my experiences of being like a first generation migrant. There's certain economic problems that come along with this situation, like the allure of better value, because when you've got like big families, or you may be, I don't know, struggling financially, your main thing is survival, and just if you've got a lot of mouths to feed, you're gonna like go for those better value things. They might not always be the best option, but it's just kind of what you got to do in the moment, right? So I think, as I said at the beginning, it's not always about taking this so literally, but it's just about just noticing that it happens. Can we have brownies tonight? Yes we can. That's so mad. Always get the largest size. Yeah, so I would always, like, I'm pretty sure like 9 out of 10 people would always opt for the larger size if it's like add another £2 and you can get it bigger. And I think that is definitely something to do with being an immigrant and not having a home and stuff like that. So that definitely did affect me. Like, I remember like a big thing for my family was just feeding, and that's a big thing like in my culture in general. Like, when you host people in your home, like, you make them feel comfortable, you make them, you know, when people are comfortable they eat more. So it's a big thing. But I remember growing up, like, my parents would always kind of want us to eat the most, because it's like their way of showing us love and comfort, because they're like in a really, like, being in a hostile environment, the one way that they can show us love and comfort is in our own home, around a table, eating food all together, and eating a lot of food at that. Like, never want to go hungry, because that's the one thing that they can control, and that's the one environment that they can really protect us in and make us feel good. So having the most of that thing is one way that they can provide and make us feel good. And that's always been something that I thought about, because we were always just given so much love and so much food with that love in our house. and then when we went outside it was just a completely different environment. So I think portions is just, it's a really interesting thing. I don't fully understand it. I don't know if having bigger or smaller portions is different, but it's just good to note like how everyone's portion size are going to be different. Like mine compared to like a 30-year-old man who is trying to bulk, for example, is going to be very, very different. But it's just always good to listen to your body and know when you're hungry, which is brings me to my next point. My grandmother did the same to us. Melissa, where are you from? Where are you from? For your grandmother to do that. I think it's like a pretty common thing with like immigrant communities. I've never thought about that, comfort for immigrants. Yeah, like food is like such a thing that you can really just show comfort and love like to your family, because it's, you know, you cook the food with love. So it's all like, you know exactly what's going into it. You can, you know, parents control what's going on in that environment, but they have not much control when they're out of that environment and they're not feeling comfortable and stuff like that. So yeah, that brings me on to my next point actually, like this idea of just being really, like just listening to your body and just being like, when am I full? Because we often don't do that, and that's because we eat really quickly as well. Again, going back to this kind of fast-paced lifestyle, where we should just eat a lot slower. Like you guys have probably heard this fact time and time again, but in the US, but she was sickly at 95. In the US, she was sickly and 95. I don't understand that, Melissa. I'm really sorry. I'm guessing you're saying that she was... Oh, she was sickly, so she wanted you guys to eat, as in like that's the way that she took care of you guys so that you guys felt well. I think that's what you mean. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, eating slowly. You guys have probably heard this fact time and time again, but basically when you're eating, it takes the body about 20 minutes for your brain to register that you're full. So if you're eating and it takes you 10 minutes to eat a plate of food and then you go up and get seconds, you're probably already full, but you just don't know it because you've eaten it so quickly. You haven't taken time out to even appreciate the meal. You haven't taken time out to like really appreciate what's going on in your body. Often we're looking at phones or looking at the TV, so we can't concentrate or we can't give our full attention to eating. So it often just becomes like this really blurry, messy situation where you're literally just stuffing your face and you don't even have the time to appreciate the food or the taste or the entire experience. So I think it's always good to just slow down when you're eating, and try and eat with your hands as well. Like there is a study that shows when you eat with your hands, it gets your body ready for digestion, because your hands, like the sense of touch, your body will start to know before it even gets into your mouth what you're about to eat. So say if you're touching a watermelon and you're about to eat it, your body will get the enzymes ready in your mouth and your digestive system to start digesting that watermelon before it even gets into your mouth. So it's really important to just slow down, let the body do its thing. Oh, even when you look at food and when you smell food as well, like if you take the time, the body will start to produce enzymes to digest that food before it even gets into your mouth from all your other senses. So definitely, I really think that slowing down, not that I do it that much, I should probably do it more, but I think slowing down when you're eating is really, really important. And the last point, number 4, which is water. Dehydration really masks itself as hunger sometimes. So often you'll think that you're really hungry, so you'll eat loads and loads and loads, but you'll never feel satisfied. And that's literally just because the only thing that will satisfy you in that moment is a glass or two of water. And you'll probably, maybe some of you have experienced this when you eat loads and loads and loads because you think that you're hungry, and then you have a cup of water and then suddenly you feel completely satisfied. I know that I've definitely experienced that a lot of times. So realistically, we should be drinking minimum, like bare minimum, 1 liter of water a day. I think that's, you know, from my research, I think bare minimum 1 liter of good quality water is really good. I drink 1.5 to 2 liters on a daily basis, and that really works for me. It means that I don't overeat on like rubbish stuff, and also it just helps you eliminate properly. Like some people don't go to the toilet, I'm talking about stools here. Some people don't pass stools like once a day, and that's really problematic, and that is a symptom of chronic dehydration when you're not passing stools enough. Now when you're not passing stools, say if you like only go to the toilet once every 2 days, it means that you're not eliminating things that are just like blocked up in your digestive system, and that stuff is just gonna sit there and literally mold in your body. Like imagine just food being in a pretty hot environment, like we're like what 32 degrees inside of our body. At home, like our homeostasis is about that. So imagine like just whatever you've eaten sitting at that temperature for like 2 days. It's gonna like mold away, like it's actually mad. So getting water and getting enough fiber into your body is really, really important. But I think water is the best thing when it comes to detoxification. The first step has to be like upping your water intake and having good quality water. So yeah, minimum 1 litre, but I would say 2 litres is a good kind of range for water. I wanted to end it on that point because next week we're going to be talking about water and dehydration, and what that actually does to the body. So one of the things is chronic constipation, but there's a lot of other things that being dehydrated does to the body, but I'm going to go into more detail about that next week. Do any of you guys have any questions? I feel like I've ranted a lot in that. This is fascinating regarding the eating with the hands. Yeah, smart. Like it's so cool, like how the body, oh no, is my Wi-Fi going? Oh no, it's there. It's so cool how the body senses actually like affect, like we can assess external stimuli, environmental stimuli, and our body will physically get us ready for that. And it's almost like the fight or flight reaction that our body has. Like when we see danger or we feel danger like is approaching, our body kicks into gear and it's either fight or flight. And that's the same for food. Like we will see or smell or touch food and our body will start to get ready to digest it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Like never underestimate your body, and it's so important to treat your body with respect and treat it correct, because it does so much for us. And it carries us, and yeah, I think it's just really important to just, the main thing with this is just understanding your triggers and not overeating, because it just causes more health problems in the future. Okay, is there any more questions? Love this. Thanks. Yeah, okay, if there's no more questions, guys, I'm gonna bounce. I'm so sorry for the beginning of this. That was so peak. I don't know what happened. Thanks for the live, dropping that knowledge. Oh, thanks, girl. I haven't spoken to you in so long, Guyana. Epic clip. Hi. Yeah, Ayana, how are you? How is everything? I'll message you after this. I'll drop you a DM on Instagram. We should catch up. Yeah, okay, if no one else has got any questions, then I'm gonna bounce, and I'll be back next week at 8 PM, and the orientation will be correct that time. I won't mess it up. I'm kind of annoyed at myself that I did that. But yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about water. If you've got any other suggestions for the future lives, let me know. Also, this Sunday I'm not going to be dropping a video because straight up I cannot be bothered. I'm not even going to lie, I can't be bothered to shoot, I can't be bothered to edit. Like it's tiring, and I prefer doing these lives with you guys because I actually get to talk to you in real time. Also, I'm working on an ebook. Don't know if I told you about that last week. I think I did tell you about an ebook last week. Gonna be basically doing like a beginner's guide to transitioning to a plant-based diet. So it's gonna have meal plans in it, it's gonna have shopping lists in it, it's gonna have recipes in it, literally everything that you need to transition to a plant-based diet. And there's gonna be like a level 1 and a level 2. So if you just, you know, if you want to kind of try it out, then you can do level 1. If you want to go all in, then you can do level 2. And it's basically, the meal plans are for 10 days. And that's going to be out in January, so I'm dedicating a lot of time and energy into that project because I really think it deserves it, and I think it will help a lot of people. So yeah, no Sunday uploads until I can be bothered. I don't know when that will be, but yeah, we'll see. But I'll be here every Thursday still, and obviously on Instagram too. So catch me over there at hipsterveggie, you guys already probably know. And yeah, if there's no more questions, then I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.